terror group, and people actually surrendering and coming back. Do you feel that at some point in this battle of winning the hearts and the minds of the people, and particularly that of those groups, that there'll come a time that you'll be able to, and I know when it comes to, and you said it yourself, the fact that where somebody believes that killing you, they're going to heaven, and if they defeat you, it's a blessing. It's a very difficult enemy to actually. But you think the heart and minds approach is actually going to work and probably lessen this and empower them, because maybe sometimes the issue is they don't have any other. Probably the people who are involved, some of them forced, and of course some of them by choice, do not have any other form of economic. There's no way they can sustain themselves. Do you feel that probably that the approach of the hearts and minds will eventually work and water down the operations of the Boko Haram? Just your comments, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I strongly believe, yes, inclusiveness is very key. And that's why I mentioned the issue of fairness, justice, and equity. In any community that you do not have this, it creates more problems. And even when you achieve that, you must be able to engage them, one, educationally, be able to provide dividends of democracy for them. They should be able to see that, yes, in a democracy, we voted in a leader that we wanted, and he is in there to make sure that we are comfortable. He provides the infrastructure and amenities, provides schools, hospitals, and all this stuff. If you're able to do that, the reasons these guys use in recruiting people, showing them that, look, you don't even have roads, you don't have water, you don't have electricity, but the government is providing such, it makes it difficult. I give you like Doha here. I mean, going around, you see how the situation is. Anybody living here will know that he's well taken care of. Medical issues are addressed, and so all he needs is to be a good citizen, and then while being monitored. Then what we do is that immediately they surrender, they report to the closest military location, we disarm them, we hand them over to the intelligence agency with the police, they are profiled, then medical attention is given to them before they are taken to the camps. And when we take them to the camps, it's the government, the state government, that takes care of the camps, the management and the administration. And then so we're able to also identify them, who are the main perpetrators, who are just those ones that were conscripted, which ones are. So we separated them from the children and the elderly and the women. So we provided different kinds of services for each of them, especially to build capacity. And part of it is the de-radicalization process for those ones that have been radicalized. Now that is a very slow and long process. So we have religious leaders that are well schooled, that are with them, interfacing with them, and bringing this things back to their mind and telling them the right things. Because what we understand is that some of them, most of them are using, have skewed the interpretation of the Quran to suit what they want. So we have leaders now that will sit down and tell them the proper thing, how it's supposed to be, not what they think or not what they have been taught. Like I told you, in the Northeast, they have been informed that if a military man kills you, it's straight to paradise. But if a civilian kills you, you might go to hell. So if he's fighting a military man, he would rather a military man kills him than the civilian. It's a mindset. So you have to work on that, and that's through psychological operation, psyops, and then strategic communication.
Welcome back to Christy TV, my correct people them. Tension don hit General Musa as he exposed how Boko Haram crept into northern region. My correct people, them even people that sponsor Boko Haram, this man have equally exposed. They no be smart, My correct people, make now watch the full video, waiting this General Musa talk concerning the northerners and the thing that is happening. Say this Sharia law of a thing and the adage wey be say the northern Muslim they believe say if you kill person, it determine how many veggies wey they will give you when you buy. That is when you go to heaven. My correct people, them not be smart as I tell you now. General Musa don expose so many things, so many dirty secrets of Boko Haram. Make una watch the rest of it. Abeg, if you finish watching, never subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please do well to subscribe. Turn on notification button so you get notified whenever we post our latest content.
Because you must communicate, and that's why the media is very, very important in asymmetric warfare. You must be able to project so that people will see. I give you another example. We had some of them that were to be taken to Abuja from Maiduguri. By road is about almost about 10 hours trip. But the impression they gave them, their commanders gave them in the field, is that Maiduguri is only Nigeria. You understand? To tell you how they brainwashed them. So when they came and they were driving and they took 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, so the guys kept on asking, where are we going to? They said, we're going to Nigeria. We're still in Nigeria. I said, no, that Nigeria is not this big. How can we be driving for this long? Some of them have never seen electricity. So when they talk to them, they will tell you, that look, they were told that even in daytime, even at night, it's still like data because they don't know. So the media is the one that will bring out those highlights for them to understand that, look, these guys are just lying to you. And the commanders are making a hell of money. and they are living larger than life. So while these ones are being killed, they are living. So they wouldn't want it to end. And besides that, again, for political reasons, there are some politicians that are leveraging on these aspects. They don't want the government, of any government, to succeed. They always want to wipe up that thing. Again, we have traders. We have those that trade with them. You know, if you get a liter of oil and take it to them, you pay. They give you almost 100 times the amount. Those ones don't want it to end. Now, there's this specific thing we have with the NGOs. Now, the NGOs are being paid high amount of money if the threat is very high. When the threat level is going low, they reduce their allowances. So how many people will want the threats to go down? For the landlords, a house where normally they collect, let me assume, $1,000. When the NGOs and everything is going is heightened, they get like 10,000 per year. How many of them want this thing to end? We had NGOs that came and took up accommodation and paid 10 years ahead. Ab initio, they came when the conflict came, took this accommodation and paid 10 years. So what was the message? You think that person wants it to end? So you see, when you see asymmetric, there are so many people, there are so many things involved in it. So many. So for every nation, like I said, first thing is please don't allow it. Whatever it takes, quell it before it grows. Because once it grows, it's difficult. A lot of people are benefiting from it, so they wouldn't want it to end. And that's the challenge. But like I'm sure, properly, if well followed, it can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Musa. Let me move now to Professor Prinsloo. And your topic was tackling terrorism and insurgency through non-kinetic operations. Let's talk a little bit about AI and cybersecurity. I'm sure there's a lot of concern at the moment about AI and its interlinkage with cybersecurity. Maybe you'd like to shed some light on that, please. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. I really appreciate it. I think it's a relevant question to the discussion today. I want to start off by talking to the general and the ideas that are emanating from Nigeria on non-kinetic and kinetic operations. And I think they are incredibly well developed, and they do understand what is at stake and how radicalization and which actors are responsible for that. So I really want to applaud them for that. In Southern Africa, unfortunately, it's not quite the same thing. So I can perhaps speak a little bit about that experience that we have in Southern Africa. So one of the best examples that we can unfortunately have in Southern Africa is what's happening in northern Mozambique. And I want to speak to what the General has said here. When SADC provided the mandate for SAMIM to go into northern Mozambique and stabilize the area, I was there actually just before that, doing an investigation. And I can tell you that there's more money that comes in for humanitarian aid and that can be used for and skimmed off and used for corrupt purposes than there is in a peacekeeping operation. And that's why SAMIM was doomed from the beginning. The World Bank at that stage have been just the World Bank itself. I'm not saying the World Bank is corrupt. I'm saying that it was close to $10 billion at that stage that was being loaned to Mozambique to help with the displacement of people. And that is big business. It's in fact, the Mozambican government created a new department just to handle that amount of money. So in Southern Africa, we are kind of naive. My second part, coming back to the cyber, I just want to say for the record that non-kinetic operations do not only include cyber operations. It's also very much about human intelligence, the information about what is happening on the ground, about the population, who are the people there that are influential and can help the particular state with their purpose and so forth. It's about identifying counter-narratives for propaganda. It's also about the other side of the coin, where you use even your, especially your state-directed media stations to help you with counter-narratives in that regard. So depending from which side you're looking at that, if you look at Russia today, it might be seen as a threat to the West, or not a threat, but it's not taken seriously, but some people might take it seriously. But at the same time, from the other side, CNN is seen as doing exactly the same, right? So this is something that is not universally balanced or implemented in a balanced way. Now, my final point I want to make about AI and cybersecurity, for instance. Unfortunately, in Southern Africa at large, cybersecurity is not understood that well. And that gap is being filled by private companies that provide them with packages which they, or which departments or the private sector can buy, that supposedly provide cybersecurity. So the definition and understanding of cybersecurity is not great. It's not really formed as of yet. And you have people who can sell something much better from these companies to the private sector and even departments. And what we have in South Africa, for instance, is that different departments might actually implement cybersecurity measures from different companies, and they don't even speak to one another. And I think we really need to raise the awareness of that impact. I'll stop my long tirade with just by saying that artificial intelligence is really a game changer. Not only is it highly energy intensive, it's disruptive to the current world order. And we need to understand who is going to benefit from this, so that we do not always try to say, okay, well, we're busy with the fourth industrial revolution, let's try to catch up. No, what we should be doing is to say, listen, where is my country or my state or my government going to be posturing itself when this or this scenario plays out? Because those countries with the greatest resources now are probably going to have the best artificial intelligence capabilities in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think we can open it up now to the plenary. I see one question there, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. And please permit me to congratulate the professor, as well as my senior, the Chief of Defense Staff of Nigeria, General C.G. Musa, for those two brilliant presentations touching on almost all areas as relates to the general security management of our respective nations, as well as our continent, Africa, West Africa to be precise. My own will be a contribution and finally a question. And this is carved out from the presentation of General Musa, where he talked about the probable relocation of internally displaced persons that are assumed or presumed to have safe areas from the communities they came from. I'm aware also that it's an international acceptable standards that either refugees or internally displaced persons should be transported in safety and dignity, as well as relocating them to camps or original place of abode that has completely been demilitarized, encouraging civilian characterization of such communities. Any deviation from this will certainly tantamount to a violation of their basic fundamental human rights. My question is, I hope the military of mighty Nigeria, the giant of Africa, are taking this into consideration prior to the resettlement of those IDPs or refugees, as the case may be. With your permission, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other question? Yes. On this side, please. On the right here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Nzeri Bokebwe from Nigeria. I must commend the paper presenters, especially my country's Chief of Defense Staff. He did excellently well. There's so many things I heard today that really touched me, especially the story of that young boy who never slept on the foam before, and they offered him foam and he was crying. It's a touching story. What that means is that a non-kinetic approach can go a long way to turn things around in worrying situation like that. So, sir, I want to ask, what is your ratio or percentage of success story of non-kinetic approach as per your experience and that of a kinetic approach? The percentage of that, the success story of both non-kinetic and kinetic. Then the second question is this. Because most of those things I jotted down were what you touched on when you were responding to what he asked you. So you have touched on some of my questions. But a particular question I want to ask is, while speaking, you talked on, using religious leaders, to de-radicalize those militants or terrorists. But I did not hear you mention psychologists, because religious leaders can pray and do some of these things. Psychologists are professionals who will help in radicalization. So I want to understand whether Ministry of Defense have a department of psychologists who can help do this work, because without psychologists, the religious leaders will just touch a little and will not be able to solve the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Any other question, or maybe we can take those? Sorry? Okay, yeah. Yes, ma'am. The mic, I think just switch on the mic, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maureen, and I'm from Nigeria. So I have a question. What is your organization doing about the new terror group in Nigeria?
Sorry, could you ask again that question? Sorry. Or the new terror group in? Okay.
Yes, please. That's all.
Thank you very much. I think we can take those three, and sir, it seems like General, they're all for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the last. Let me start from the back. The Lakrawas. It's not a new terror group. They've been in Nigeria since 2018, and again, it creates problems because we've always tried to advise individuals that you invite somebody to your community for whatever reason. You don't know them, they don't speak your language, you brought them across from international borders, you give them refuge, they stayed with you, they had a sharing formula for them to be with you, and then suddenly you stop giving them what they wanted. The tendency is next, they want to start asking by force. That was exactly what happened with the Lakrawas. They are from Niger, they don't even speak Nigerian language, they are not Nigerians at all. But the locals felt comfortable with them, thinking that they are one of the same. Maybe my religion, come here and help me. In case I'm going to be attacked, you can protect me. Then I'll be giving you this amount of money or giving you this support and all these things. And in fact, some of them, if you talk to them, the communities now, they tell you, no, they are very friendly. Because what they do is that they try to show you they're better opponents to the government. They bring out money, pay you money, give you food, give you this. Say, no, I'm with you, I'm here to protect you. Better than your government. But you know, it doesn't last. The romance doesn't last. After a while, they will show their true colors. And that's exactly what they did. Initially, again, when they came, they said they didn't have anything to do with Nigeria, that their problem was with Niger. So they were comfortable. And since their problem was with Niger, the locals felt comfortable with them. And when you come to ask them and say, no, there's nobody, we're all friends, they are all, because we share a very common border, like I said, with Niger, about 1,600 kilometers. Some houses, you see the sitting room is in Nigeria, the bedroom is in Niger. That is how close. We share common culture, tradition, religion together. So it makes it difficult even separating them. So even when you come as a visitor and you want to find out, they tell you, no, we're together, there's no problem. Until they started taxing them and they started killing them. That's when they now cried out. So efforts are being made now. Operations are ongoing to clear them up completely from the story. And we're working together with Niger. Because normally, like I said, they don't respect any border. You come here, they move to the next country. And then when you leave, they come back. Now, we have 20 kilometers right of pursuit. The Nigerians are working together with us. So we're addressing it gradually. But like I said, it's a difficult operation because the only way you identify them is if you see them armed. Or else they're just like any other person. So if the villagers tell you they are our friends or they are our relations, what do you do? That's the difficulty in asymmetric warfare. But we're working on it, and then the intelligence agencies are equally down there following up the issue. On the issue of the IDPs and probably refugees, yes, psychological operations have been. We have psychologists. In the military, we have, like everything, every space of life you have in the civil, we have in the military. It's just like in the civil, probably more. When the military is small but very, very efficient. So even for our troops, because of post-traumatic stress disorder, we have for our troops, when they are before they go, we brief them. When they are leaving the theater, we also take them back and give them some psychological. Because we don't want them to go back with that mindset back to the community. Sometimes they go back with a lot of rage because of what they've seen, what they've gone through. So we do that. Likewise, part of the de-radicalization program we're doing is we have the psychologists to also take part, apart from the religious leaders, because the holistic thing, and we know the importance of mental health issues again, and so those are the things that have been addressed quite very well. And the issue of the ratios of non-kinetics, well, the ratio, maybe you look at it from the level that at least now the rates of attacks have gone down. Communities are now resuming back to their communities, and not forcefully, like with the question from the IGP. Not at all. The communities, in fact, most communities are eager to return back to their villages. So one thing is that we must give the clear, working together with the government until we are sure that there's, because normally before they go back, we go back there with the government officials to ensure that infrastructure, at least to some level, is restored. There's water, some semblance of life before they are. And then we also, because of the use of IEDs, one of the greatest challenges we are having in the terror is the use of IEDs. So they are scattered all over, and probably some ammunitions too that were there that were not exploded. So we make sure that we go around, clear all these areas, make sure that it's safe, and then with their own consent, they are transported back to these communities. There is no community in the world that is 100% free. So if we say we're looking for an ideal situation where it is no community is 100% free, but we make sure that at least to that extent that they are able to go back, and we've returned. Baga is fully back, Gudumbali is back, Kukawa is back. So we are taking them in gradually, step by step, and we feel that's the best thing to do, because again, leaving them in IDP camps, you are creating another problem. Now you're having a lot of rape cases, a lot of stealing, a lot of killings, all within the camps because they're so crowded. So easing them out gradually and taking them back to their communities has made it a lot easier. But again, with their consent, nobody's been forced into doing it. And then for the refugees, we're also working with, we have some of them in Niger, some in Cameroon, some in Chad. We're also working with them to bring them back gradually. And so I think the work is going on, and we will continue to do that. We believe the non-kinetic has a major role in what we're doing. The military, like I said, can only do so much. The government must be there to be held to account. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. We can take another set of questions. I see a lady at the back.
Billy Daniels from Nigeria. You made mention of the NGOs being part of the people fueling insecurity, and then some landlords in the Northeast. So what measures have been put in place to make sure that this is taken care of or totally cope out? Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Yes, General?
Thank you. It's Leon Duplessis. Professor Prinsloo, the risks of AI and cybersecurity. Whenever we put our strategy on the table and our war plans, there must be a risk, because in today's day and time, those will be put on computers, most probably also hard copies. If the army uses AI to refine their strategy and they put that into AI, what are the possibilities of their plans being exposed and put in the open when they use AI to either better or to even develop a strategic plan or a war plan?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please.
I have another question. When can the terror groups in Borno be completely exterminated? When can the terror groups in Borno State be completely exterminated?
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any other? Otherwise, yes, please, sir.
Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the General and Professor Prinsloo for the brilliant presentations. My question goes to Professor Prinsloo, and it's about AI being used in diagnostics, health diagnostics. Experts believe that, the AI landscape is evolving. It's not, it has not yet matured, and they have security concerns. We know health is a very tricky situation. If people rely heavily on AI for health diagnostics, what are the dangers if we do not have sufficient safety protocols in place for enemies or terrorists using this data to, put people's lives at risk? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can take one more, and then we'll ask the panelists to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Nasser Mazu. I'm the Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs in Katsina State. Well, in as much as I completely agree and with the presentation of the CDS, Musa, and also the step taken as well as the achievements made in fighting against the terror in Nigeria. But I can see that Northwest did not become so apparent, so clear in most of these fights against insecurity, taking into cognizance that the terror in the Northwest seems to be more devastating than now in the Northeast because of the way the terror groups operate. Now for Boko Haram, for clarity, Boko Haram are driven, their activities are driven by ideology. They believe in as if they are serving the Almighty. Well, conversely, in the Northwest, bandits are operating to steal from people. It's just a thievery. They don't have any ideology, they don't have any principle, they just want to steal. They decided to acquire arms, they decided to buy sophisticated weapons just to attack people and steal from them. Nothing more, nothing less. And again, from the psychological point of view, they are more afraid of being killed than the Boko Haram, because Boko Haram believes that when they die, they will enter Jannah, they will enter paradise. Well, these bandits, they knew very well that what they are doing is quite wrong. But the issue is this: they are continuously expanding. They are continuously expanding, and we are now, many states are engaging community policing into it. In Katsina State recently, we graduated the second batch of Community Watch Corps. Last year, October, another batch one, came on board. Now the issue is, even if you fight them, the idea of these informers, as well as the community support, is seriously retarding fight against banditry. And unfortunately, there is one serious factor which I want as Chief of Defense Staff to answer. You see, since they have the idea of this firepower, bandits use AK-47. Well, the law of the land did not allow somebody that is not trained as a military or as a police officer to hold AK-47. And this is a community-driven crisis that can be addressed substantially by the members of the communities. In as much as the communities are trained and they know the enclaves of the bandit, and they don't have the power because they can only use pump action that ranges only 100 meters. Well, bandits are having AK-47 that has a range of about 400 meters. They will continue to deal with people even if people want to fight and protect their communities. What government is doing to address that problem, considering the fact that in the Boko Haram, hunters were given AK-47, and that's what honestly helped in addressing the problem of Boko Haram. So what is government doing now to make people to have access to that more advanced and more sophisticated weaponry, so that we will come to we will completely dislodge this bandit? Because in as much as we leave them, they will continue to expand, and that is a serious issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, yes,
I should respond? Okay, good. I'm very happy you brought up that question, and I'm really, really very happy, because I know I didn't cover it. I wanted somebody to I can actually dwell in it.
Thank you, sir.
Let's start from the beginning. How did we get to the banditry? If we tell ourselves the truth, what is going on in the Northwest is the Hausa Fulani fight. We don't mention it. That is the bottom line. The Fulani man feels anytime he comes to town, he's molested, he's killed. The Hausa man believes that the Fulani man, using his headsmen, enters his farm and destroys his crops. So it's been a long time, I'm sure you're aware, it's been a long time issue that had not been addressed. So it's a political issue that should have been settled before. It had been allowed until it evolved to what it is today. Now, acts of criminality now came in. When acts of criminality came in, they felt that now, because the borders, I mentioned the issue of porous borders where weapons are moving in and out, and that's why they felt that, yes, since their cows have been attacked, they too should be protected. And that's why it's a measure of them clean arms. And before you know it, those that didn't have cows started into acts of armed robbery, small stealing, until it graduated to what it is now. Then the Boko Haram, with the hit they got in the Northeast, a lot of them moved. So it's a convergence of criminality that has come together to build up to what the acts of banditry. And the only way they make money is what? Kidnapping. When they kidnap, they make money. Now, the state governments, yes, in order to address that, I personally support civilian JTF. We use them effectively in the Northeast. But how did we apply them in the Northwest? What we did, the communities were the ones that identified youths that had character, that were reliable, that were honest. They brought out those names, gave the state government brought them in, profiled them with the police and the DSS, the State Security Service. And then they were now handed over to the military. They were trained with the mandate to protect their communities, not to go and attack any other person. Because one, the military, the armed forces, we are not many. We can't be everywhere. There is no country that have security forces everywhere. So their own intent is, the mandate for them is protect your community while the main forces are coming. So you delay them until that. And that's how we have used them. And frankly speaking, they've given us a lot of, because one, they know the areas very well. They know the area. They can tell you where IEDs are, which roads are clear and all this. So we use that correct. But what we found out in the Northwest is a lot of this were not done. And the danger is, don't ever allow a training to be viewed, the perception of that using one ethnic group. Like I told you from the beginning, the issues were Hausa, Fulani. Now, if you have civilian JTF that is only Hausa, what would the Fulani feel? He'll feel threatened. And that is what is causing the problem. If you sit down now to look at in Katsina State, how many have been killed so far? Because one, they operate in Northeast, they operate with the security forces. There's no operation they don't go together. So the security forces will give them that experience and the tactics to use. In this other area, they want to go alone. And you know that they've started also starting to also settle personal scores. So they've derailed from the main objective of protecting their communities to settling personal. Some of them now have started settling land issues, marital issues, things that are not part of what they are supposed to be, because again, they were not controlled. The civilian JTF in the Northeast knows if he commits an offense, he's going to face the law. So he is guided. So those are things that I think is important, that in the Northwest, go back and be able to do that. Dilute your groups. Don't make it one ethnic group, because if you do it, if you either take Fulani alone or you take Hausa alone, you are creating problem. Give everybody equal opportunity to be part. Once they have a sense of belonging, they take ownership of it, and it makes it a lot easier for you. So I think it's very, very important. And with the mandate, protect your communities. I think that's very critical. So if we're able to do that, I can assure you, you'll see it differently. And I visited your governor not long ago, and I'm happy the way he's approaching it. But the important thing that I think is missing is the aspect of cooperating together with the armed forces. We must work together, because the common enemy we're dealing with, if you deal with them in isolation, you can't withstand, because the experience and the practice of those civilian jets cannot withstand those guys. So I think that's very critical for us to be able to address. On the BHT, on the ideologies,
there was the issue of the NGOs. Yes.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things I had. Initially, when the NGOs came in, when we started, they didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that, because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they will tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that. So we said, no, it can't continue like that. And that's why we insisted with the state government that, look, the state government must know what's going on. So if any NGO comes, it must be registered. We must monitor what's going on. We've had situations where NGOs will come in with unidentified individuals entering communities. You don't even know what they're doing. They don't have NGO ID cards. They are not part of the government. Who is taking them to? What are they going there for? And so by the time we start monitoring what they were doing, we noticed things started getting better. So which means something is going on somewhere, because they come from all over the world and you don't know who is who. So that's why for every country, please regulate what the NGOs are doing, monitor what they're doing. Most times you hear them telling you that they spent $10 million, and then you wonder where. Most times the money is spent on themselves, on their luxuries, the hotels they stay, the vehicles they are using, and all those things. The locals don't benefit much from them. And yet this thing keeps on. I've told you, somebody will come and pay for a house for 10 years ahead. So what is he trying to tell you? This thing will never end until after 10 years, or maybe he will renew it. And again, I always remember that if there is peace, and the threat level is low, one, they are going to retrench them. Two, their hazard allowance will reduce. How many of them will want that? We're not saying all of them are bad. No, some are really doing very well. Some are extremely doing very well. But again, please don't just assume they are just monitor what's going on, monitor what's being spent. I think it's important. I think we've dealt with the issue.
There's the last one of extermination of the.
When is it going to end? Maybe I should ask you, when is criminality going to end? It's something that we have to live. No, the truth about it is just something that's the new world order. And it's everywhere. In America, how many killings are going on? It's all acts of terrorism. It's going to be in every country. It is your ability to mitigate, to deal with it in such a way that it does not affect the normal lives of the people. But acts of criminality will continue. That is for sure. Countries that have not had it, please don't allow it to start. Whatever it takes, once it starts, please nip it immediately in the bud. It's very important. And what does it take? Monitoring. Monitoring is good. Law enforcement, legal system. These are areas that we are having a lot of challenges. Most times you even arrest these people, there's no legal law to deal with them. You are left with the people to deal with. It's a big issue. And because they know that, they too leverage on those aspects. So I think that's why it's important, like we said, is the whole of society approach to addressing asymmetric warfare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Very articulate indeed. Thank you very much, sir. Professor, the risk of AI in plans for war, and then the other one on health diagnostics. Please, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for those two questions. I think I need to explain that we're talking about two different things in this space that sometimes can be confused with one another. The first is being the risks that AI or cybersecurity or lack of cybersecurity can pose, and the other one is the threat that AI can pose. Now, for the first part of this answer, you need to understand that as the current computer and internet layout and networks are configured at the moment, every single database on this planet is at risk from a foreign adversary. It doesn't matter how great your encryption is. Some countries have supercomputers. They can decrypt, they can infiltrate without you even knowing there. We've seen it with software applications in Iran with Stuxnet software that messed up the uranium enrichment operations. And we need to understand that is a cybersecurity threat based on existing conditions. To not go on to say that AI is a threat right now, I need to explain it in such a way. The current status of artificial intelligence is that it is still basically a large language model, right? So it's still learning. And the vast amount of information that it gets is interpreted and given back to the user, and it's based on logic and rationality. We see some on the fringe edges of information that are generated at the moment by AI that are actually, false roots and cannot be trusted. And so there's some kind of imagination that's going on. The problem or the threat does not lie in the current AI. The threat comes with whatever sector you actually, whether it's health or military or anything, is when we start to have what we call general artificial intelligence. And that is a state of being where you have created something that can replicate itself, number one, but secondly, also have some sort of self-awareness. And that is actually the threshold that we have with terrorism and every other type of issue that was raised by that gentleman over there as well about the psychology of de-radicalization. We need to consider that at the moment, artificial intelligence is based on logical interpretations and vast amount of data. Generative artificial intelligence, when it becomes, or if it becomes self-aware, let's say if it becomes self-aware, we are immediately into the realm of going away from logic and rationality towards a space of irrationality, which we call emotions. Now, when we have emotional interpretations, you have an identity and you can develop an ego. The moment you have those two things, you're sitting in a realm where you have the ultimate threat, because whatever you have on that side that came into being, it actually can feel threatened, first of all, can actually make decisions that are based on, let's say it's I use the example of, let's say, a teenager. Let's say it's a level of the maturity, the psychological maturity of a teenager. It can be easily offended, or it cannot understand the larger issue at hand and can make decisions that looks to us rational, but may not be. And that is where the lies, and I mean, currently they keep on saying, well, we need to manage artificial intelligence in an ethical manner and consider all of the problems it may create in terms of privacy and so forth. But that's not the main problem. The main problem is really if it begins to have a personality, it's unstoppable. And it's unpredictable because it's emotional. I don't want to say those of you that are married will understand what I'm saying. Don't quote me on that. But it is a real threat when it comes to that. And that may happen much sooner than we think. I mean, there are companies that are working on attaining exactly that. And I just want to circle back to the beginning. The supercomputers that are out there right now can do vast amounts of calculations per second. Trillions. And they can provide us with information about, let's say, the origin of the universe that we would have taken us 1 billion years as a human race to let's say, model and understand. So that capacity and capability is already there, but it's not self-thinking. It's not self-aware. We're not there yet, but we could be. I'll end it there.
Thank you very, very much, General, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, you must agree that... oh, sorry, Admiral. Sorry.
Thank you, moderator. Mine is a contribution. First of all, to the issue of artificial intelligence. I just got back from US at Harvard, where we ran the National and International Security Program. Yes, AI is real. Just before now, we thought cyber warfare was the fourth dimension of warfare. CDS, you can attest to that. But again, ongoing debates has it that AI has been deployed in the Ukraine-Russia war. Perhaps Israel must have deployed that quite recently. But again, one of the countries, the developed climes that have developed bill or legal document on the use of artificial intelligence is US. But again, there is this debate ongoing about the human element when finally you are pressing that button, you know, to deploy LAW. Can you remind me what that is? Lethal acquired weapon or something like that. Anyway, related with artificial intelligence. So while the remaining part of the world, be it the developing and the underdeveloped, we're thinking of how to even perfect the use of conventional weapons, the defense industries of the developed climes are already thinking of the next level. So like you said, okay, we are going to get there, or it's evolving and all that. But it's real. It has come to stay with us, and it's been deployed, so to speak. Then on the issue of the Northwest crisis, CDS, you know, you say you didn't mention it. It's a delicate, you know, it's a delicate thread or delicate line to discuss about the Hausa Fulani issue. If you ask me what is the difference between Hausa and Fulani, I'm an Hausa Fulani man. Most of the gentlemen you see here, they are Hausa Fulanis. Perhaps when we listen to the efforts of Katsina State tomorrow or thereabout, the deputy governor or with the commissioner for internal security will be able to tell us what is it really. But you know, our moral values have decayed. From our roots, the traditional leadership system has been eroded. You can see back home what happened. The traditional rulers have been made to look, next to nothing, and they play significant role. While growing, I never gave them a space. I was never their fan, but when I grew into an adult, I got to realize that yes, they contribute a lot to the security of our local communities, which also speak to the issue of community policing, which I strongly ascribe to. Perhaps too, when you are speaking to us, you enlighten us more on the effort of Katsina State. But again, overall, the issue of the Northwest has to be from all fronts. All the Northwestern governors must come together to fight from all ends into a center or a pivot point where the military are also operating to support whatever local effort they are doing. And then, of course, just to maybe remind or inform the Commissioner for Internal Security, the issue of RPGs or no RPGs and all that devolved from when Gaddafi fell in Libya. For over 2 decades ago, we have been hearing that in our staff colleges and all that. Oh, okay, these weapons are coming to Nigeria. They are coming, and all that. And of course, they are with us. Those are the weapons that are being procured by bandits or terrorists and all that. And of course, again, looking at the whole issue of Boko Haram again, just to contribute to what the CDS has said, there is an international conspiracy. The Red Cross Society is an intelligence organization. I've been to Batista in the United States years ago, and I know that is where the crew teams to work in multinational operation spaces. They are agents, and they are not supervised or monitored in whatever they do, just like the CDS has said. That way too, it's been proven over time, even in our climb back home in Nigeria, that they drop weapons. It's true. They drop medicaments. It's true. The CDS was in the Northeast. I was in the Northeast 2017. If you may recall, I was in your environment. And then, of course, most of the time, we were working on the threat of famine, which was brought about by World Health Organization. World Food Program, which again you are going to face right away. When I was in the US last week, I heard about the threat of famine again, that it's looming its head and all that and all that. And then, of course, we were there under the defense headquarters. I was director of search and rescue when you saw me in Maiduguri. And of course, we coordinated the relief for the country to boost the effort of the NGOs. And I'm happy over the years you have also downgraded. You didn't also mention that, but let me just say too that you have downgraded the NGOs. Some have been declassified and been asked to go away. That also contributes to the successes that is being achieved today by the defense headquarters or the armed forces of Nigeria, so to speak, towards diminishing the issue of the insurgents. So you see, these are issues. Perhaps the developed climes don't want us to stabilize. Is an issue. It's an ongoing debate and all that. But again, I tell my African brothers, especially when I was in active service, I tell my colleagues, the navies, the coast guard, look, these guys are only around us because we have critical minerals for them to tap. They need all the raw materials to develop their climes. And everybody is looking onto Africa, for raw materials, for industries in the developed climes. And therefore, they will never want us to stabilize in Africa. And so therefore, we must come together as brothers to solve our problems. Nobody can solve that for us. And I think that is gaining traction from my, assessment while I was in service. And everybody is fast realizing that, look, we have to come together. We have to come together and solve our problems. And then I give kudos to the CDS, the things that were messed up by the politicians, and then, the efforts you went to in Niger Republic. I remember I'm telling you that you have to go to those other countries too, to see how you can whip them into line. Because we must play the role. Nigeria plays critical role in Africa, whether we are technologically more advanced than a country like South Africa or not. You know, by 2050, I keep reminding us, Africa will grow exponentially in population, and Nigeria will be the third most populous country in the whole world. So it's something that is food for thought for us and for our African brothers to support us, because we are all, you know, not equally endowed in terms of intellect, resources, both human and material. So that is my take. I just felt I should bring that, but I expect maybe you wait until tomorrow. Okay, my friend. Okay. Thank you.
So virtually almost everyone. And I also want to appreciate the fact that the herder-farmer clash laid the foundation of where we are today. Of course, there was that crisis before. But what is happening today is criminality, and the issue of control of resources has also set in. We have abundant mineral resource, and most of the illegal mining activities that is going on in the country, particularly this northwest region, we have support for external factors over control of illegal mining activities, particularly in Zamfara and Katana State. So much abundance of gold, lithium, name them all, we have them. And part of what we did to ensure that we support the security and try to deal with the criminality issue, we look at all that has been going on, inadequate resources, personnel and whatever, on the part of the conventional security forces. And we have no option than to come up with a homegrown initiative or involve the locals to protect themselves. The recruitment process we went through was one that is supposed to be done even by the conventional security forces. Because no politician was involved in the recruitment process, we started with 8 frontline local governments, where we recruited 1,466 personnel. And the imams, the traditional rulers, and all the other opinion leaders were involved in vetting the people that we selected. And the training we gave them was a normal conventional training, because we have some retired military officers from the state who volunteered to train them, along with the military training. So we deployed them back to their communities, and we have a joint operations. I want to admit that even if there is no synergy anywhere between the security forces and the locally trained vigilante or whatever we have it in Katsina State, we enjoy the support of all the security forces. I personally, as a deputy governor, I coordinated the entire security operations, which we conducted at least for a period of 1 month, to allow our people to go to farms. The military, the DSS, the police, all of them were involved. And we are monitoring weekly the performance, and we made sure that there's absolute synergy and control by the security forces on what the operations that was carried out by the Security Watch Corps. So also, we didn't even stop at the connected approach. We also look at the non-connected approach. We realized the role this traditional institution can play into this. For the first time, we recruited 6,652 warheads and put them on payroll in Katsina State, just to support the security architecture. Apart from those that we recruited and trained under the community watch corps, because virtually Katsina is more than 90% Muslim population, so we also had to involve the ulamas, the religious leaders. We have 2,550 mosques in Katsina State. We made sure that we recruited at least 3 people, the imam, the assistant imam, and the ladan. We put them on payroll, and they are also assisting us in preaching against this violence and other criminal activities. And they form part of the community security committees across the state. So these are some of the things that I feel that I should share with the Chief of Defense Staff and other people that happens to be around. And most of the other initiatives that we have done, I'll address it in my presentation tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll agree with me. This has been a very exciting session, and I couldn't have asked for a more eloquent and elaborate panel.